All right, here I am at the National Center for Atmospheric Research. For those of you who have been my paragliding students, I really recommend that you look at the surface map that they generate every day to tell us about the weather. But let's go inside and take a look at this facility, because this is where the real thing happens. Real live research, real live data. That's what you need to go fly. So, if you want to have good weather forecasts, you have to have humongous computer processing, because weather falls under the larger category called fluid dynamics, which is incredibly complicated, and without fantastic computer modeling, it's hard to figure out what's going to happen next. Now, behind me is now a gigantic empty room. So this whole entire thing used to be filled with rows and rows of banks of things that looked like this. And I was going to show you beautiful pictures of all this stuff, except for, according to this, over here, they've moved all their computers to Wyoming. So it's up in Cheyenne right now. But you can get an idea what this room used to look like. Now, if you're a paraglider pilot, this stuff is incredibly important to you, because you need to go out and fly in the weather. And if you don't know what the weather is doing or what it's all about, that ignorance can be literally deadly. And that's why I would, for instance, if you run into a politician who says, oh, we need to cut back on weather funding, don't vote for that guy, because he may kill you. And as a matter of fact, in this day and age, not knowing what's going on with the weather could have much more substantial consequences than just whether or not you fly or crash and hit the ground, but how the entire ecosystem that we depend on works. And it's this kind of facility that I'm in now that does that for us. And this is where they produce the data, where our surface maps are, which I think is one of the best tools for paragliders to really understand what's going on in a broader scale. And what I want to do is encourage you all to move away from what I call Kentucky Fried weather, which is finger licking good. Where you lick your finger and hold it up and go like, oh, it's blowing in, let's go flying. Instead of that, let's cast a broader net and look at what's happening on a global level, a regional level, and then take your data right there at the site. And if all those things agree that it's a good day to go flying, let's go flying. Now, lately in the news, we've had the helicopter crash down in LA. That's pretty sad. People died. What was the weather doing that day? I drove through that area on my way to come out here to Colorado, and the weather stunk. And I think that's another message to everybody out there, is that if you decide not to fly, I guarantee you, you will not crash your paraglider on that day. And it's one of the best tools you have in your toolbox to keep yourself safe. The weather stinks, stay on the ground. You eliminate the problem in its entirety. I wanted to show you all sorts of cool things that used to be in here, but none of them are in here anymore. And everything's been just replaced by great big signs like this. Probably because a lot of these physical displays took a lot of upkeep because people would bust them. But then again, in this age where we try and defund everything that the government does until it ceases to function, that could also be our problem. Alas, I used to bring all my paragliding students up here and teach them about the weather, and it's all damn gone. And I'd love to share that stuff with you. About the only thing of any use that's left in here is, I'll have to turn the camera on to show you this. Is this thing that shows about dust devils or how hurricanes work, except for it's hardly working anymore. It's kind of sad in here.